So thanks, good morning and welcome. So I wanted to use my talk today to provide a bit of context of why we're here today by outlining how the FT has transformed itself from primarily an organization producing a printed newspaper to one that's a digital business tool. So digitalization is a very hot topic at the moment as organizations around the world try and grapple with how to digitize their operations. So I'm hoping to provide some insights of how the FT has managed that transition, but also highlight how we've changed our service to offer more value to our institutional customers. So as James mentioned, the FT's group subscriptions business was established just over 10 years ago to license our journalism to our corporate clients, government, academic institutions. So in a digital landscape where both the economics of publishing but also reader habits were changing very fast, the FT looked to establish those direct relationships with those organizations. And it was only really by following the customer and the customer needs could we adapt our service and continue to invest in high quality journalism. So most case studies start off with a large scary graph that provided some impetus for change. And this is what newspapers faced. So it's not a particularly new chart, but it illustrates some of the challenges that were faced by newspapers in the last couple of decades. So in the 90s, the advertising business was booming, and the internet offered access to massive audiences. Almost all the newspaper publishers opted for an advertising-funded model for their businesses. But it failed. More than $40 billion switched to Google and Facebook, and it's not coming back. So, if we rewind 10 years, this is what the FT's business customer looked like. Invisible. So the FT was sold and distributed via third-party platforms or news aggregators like Factiva, Westlaw, LexisNexis. And the FT licensed republishing or provided sold republishing rights to those news aggregators, and they in turn provided access rights to the end customer or the reader. So when the publisher's content is distributed on those platforms in that way, the reader is the customer of the third party and not the publisher or not the FT. So the publisher has been intermediated. The customer is not known to the publisher. So on the one hand, the FT knew that these news consumption habits were changing very fast and would continue to change as new technologies appeared and we transition to a digital landscape. As the previous chart showed, the kind of economics of publishing was also changing. And the FT believed that a direct relationship with customers was crucial to understanding why the FT was valued and how it could adapt to better meet our customer needs. So that was the first challenge, how to get to know who our customers are. The second challenge was really rethinking how the FT met customer needs. So it was taking a bit of a different perspective on what the FT offered. So rather than as an organization thinking, what do? We produce a printed newspaper and distribute it around the world. It was thinking as the FT as a intellectual property factory or database. So the FT's network of 600 odd journalists produce about 250 odd articles a day, and those are now annotated to describe the people we write about, the organizations, the industries, the places. And then, so our content is the key asset we offer, not the technology or the format in which it's consumed. So if you combine these threads, like the changing economics of publishing, the need to understand how to adapt to our customers, and then defining what value the FT creates, those really helped contribute to our decision to offer multi-platform licenses. So a multi-platform license enables customers to still access FT journalism on using the kind of technologies or platforms they want, but have a direct relationship with the publisher, the FT. And this is kind of what it looks like. So the customer pays once for access to the FT, and then that customer can read or has a license to read that journalism on multiple platforms and enterprise technologies. So our audience of readers around the world now access the FT on our own ft.com and FT apps, but also more than 50 third-party platforms, including the likes of Bloomberg, Factiva, LexisNexis. Interestingly, it's increasingly integration with CRM systems and collaboration tools is where increasingly clients are looking to integrate the FT and discover and have that as a place of discovering relevant FT articles and reading those articles there. So I suppose this approach tries to recognize that customers want to define their own business processes and systems and then work with the FT to try and support those goals directly. So once we have those direct relationships established with customers, it also meant we had usage data. This enabled us to move to a pricing model where we charge for not for what we produce, but what value we deliver. So a digital customer-first strategy has changed the way we price. In this case, engagement or usage is a proxy for that value. So the FT adopted a usage-based pricing model for group subscriptions. So the price of a subscription depends on how much the organization uses our service. So we record how many articles are read, and we only charge for users who need frequent access to our content. So our database of audience insights is used to provide customers with regular usage reports to show how the FT is being used within the organization. And I've got a short video to show how it works, and it will hopefully explain this better than I can. So Keith.
Here's how Financial Times group subscriptions are priced. You're only charged for users who need frequent access to our content, your core readers. You only ever pay to access a piece of content once, across multiple devices. And the more core readers you register, the better value you enjoy, thanks to a volume discount. We'll help find the best pricing solution for you. We'll work with you to decide on the number of core readers you need. That's people who'll be reading 9 or more articles in any 30-day period. Remember, you only pay for their access. Occasional users can access our content too, at no extra charge. Anyone who reads 8 or fewer FT articles in any 30-day period goes free. We'll also help you manage your budget by fixing your price for a year and sharing regular usage reports, so you can see how many core readers you have. When it's time to renew, you can use these insights to determine the price of your new subscription. You're in control. If your number of core readers grows, you can decide whether to pay for extra core readers, or you can restrict access to manage your budget. This flexibility means that as your organisation or department evolves, your subscription can too, so it's always right for you. In a nutshell, the price of your subscription is based on how much your organisation uses our service. We believe just charging for users who are getting value from reading FT content on a regular basis keeps our pricing simple, transparent, and fair. Get in touch to find out more.
So one of the key benefits of having a demand-based pricing model is that it's flexible enough to cater for the varying requirements of different customer sets. So the FT has global coverage that is of interest to many different business sectors, professional advisors, government agencies, and academic institutions. So we have more than 4,000 customers now with group subscriptions, and we hear really an underlying theme from all of those customers about how they're trying to take a more outward-looking or global approach to business, so they can adapt to changes in the market that might be impacting their organizations. So I think change is the one constant, and when organizations are alert to that change and alert to what's happening in the market, they can make better informed decisions based on a broader perspective. They can provide better advice to clients. They're in a better position to understand what the emerging trends are and take action. And that might be around mitigating risk or being first to react to new opportunities. So by having these direct relationships with customers, we've also used that relationship, that feedback from customers to inform some of the investment decisions we've been making, both on the content side, but also particularly on the kind of services that we offer to enterprise customers. So we've literally just released a suite of tools for our enterprise customers that helps them do three things. One is kind of manage access to the FT. Second is provide content recommendations to colleagues in different parts of the business, and find usage insights. Luckily, I'm not going to do a demo, but in summary, it means customers can add or remove users from a license and create groups within the license for a particular team or department. You can then make content recommendations, so highlight relevant FT articles for different colleagues or teams, and they can follow those, or they're set up automatically to follow those on ft.com so that the right relevant content is flagged based on what they want to, they're interested in reading. And then you can see who's reading the FT and how much the service is being used within the business through the usage insights. So these tools are I suppose, the latest in what we've released, because towards the latter part of last year, we also launched a single sign-on technology, because that's something we heard as a real kind of issue for customers, how to log in and make it frictionless in terms of accessing the content. So we have almost all of our business education clients on single sign-on now, and we've got more than 10 corporate clients on single sign-on, and that there's more in the pipeline. So really trying to, that's another example how we're trying to put in place the services for our business customers. So other customers have integrated the FT into their CRM and intranet systems. So Credit Suisse, for example, has integrated the FT within its investment management system. So it provides recommended reading within their investment management system for their advisors, so that they're prepared when they speak to clients. We also have customers taking a direct feed of FT articles and our metadata into their trading platforms. So they can take trading decisions based on the back of our original content. So these examples, I think, provide or illustrate that it's a very different set of capabilities that we offer when compared to what's needed to produce and distribute a printed newspaper. So the other slide in a case study is always what's the result, and this is really the kind of result of the FT's digital transformation. There have been two significant shifts in the makeup of our business. One that James alluded to earlier, which is really around where the revenue comes from. 80% of our revenue used to come from advertising and 20% from readers. That's now switched to more of a 60-40 split. And the shift from print to digital audiences has been equally kind of dramatic, as this slide shows. So much of the growth, over 500,000 paid-for readers, has been driven by the 4,000 odd licenses that we now have with enterprise customers. But we're not done. We're looking for more ideas to invest in, and ideas that will add value to you and your businesses. So this is partly why we're having this event, is to try and hear your ideas on how we can adapt and change the FT to make it more of a digital business tool. So I'll be around later, otherwise collar somebody in the FT and tell them your ideas and provide that feedback, because it's very welcome. So thank you for listening, and I'd welcome questions if we have time, and suggestions, if anybody has them.
Just looking at your last graph, why you suddenly take up in January 2014? Why you suddenly saw the digital subscription just... Sorry. I was just looking at that graph, and I just wonder why in January, I think 2014, you've got a sudden uptake, and it continues that trend going upwards. What caused that, and why do you think that trend's continued to explode upwards over those sort of
it's
years?
a good point. Was that a news agenda thing?
Sorry, team effort here. Essentially, partially the growth is driven by, if you look at the bottom line, print has actually stabilised. So what was happening previous to that was that print was declining at quite a rapid rate. So this is a cumulative graph, and then print stabilised. So what you saw then was the underlying trend of the digital acceleration really come through at that point in time. There were also a couple of other factors that influenced the growth at that time, which was really the explosion of tablets and mobile platforms. So content became far more accessible on those platforms, and we saw sort of almost exponential growth as a result of that. So it's a kind of combination of factors.
Any other questions? Well, if you think of any later, my email address is there, and feel free to send those suggestions through. Thank you.